Hello, I'm James Henry, and this is The Message.
The Message.
I exalt you, Lord, because you pulled me up. You didn't let my enemies celebrate over me. Lord, my God, I cried out to you for help, and you healed me. Lord, you brought me up from the grave, brought me back to life from among those going down to the pit. You are faithful. You who are the faith, if I was standing over there, it wouldn't be a problem. You who are faithful to the Lord, sing praises to him. Give thanks to his holy name. His anger lasts for only a second, but his favor lasts for a lifetime. Weeping may stay all night, but in the morning, joy. When I was comfortable, I said, I will never stumble. Because it pleased you, Lord, you made me a strong mountain. But then you hid your presence. I was terrified. I cried out to you, Lord. I begged you, my Lord, for mercy. What is to be gained by my spilled blood, by my going down into the pit? Does dust thank you? Does it proclaim your faithfulness? Lord, listen and have mercy on me. Lord, be my helper. You changed my mourning into dancing. You took off my funeral clothes and dressed me up in joy, so that my whole being might sing praises to you and never stop. Lord my God, I will give you thanks forever. I am convinced that part of the reason we don't experience joy in life is we've forgotten how to be people the way God wanted us to be. And because we have forgotten how to be the people God designed us, wanted us to be, we don't get joy. We don't experience joy. We don't see joy. We don't notice the joy in the everyday kinds of things that consistently happen. Like what happened to you first thing this morning? You opened your eyes. You woke up. It was a new day. And you are alive. You're still breathing. You're here in this world, and you just think it's another day. But you miss the reality that just another day you're alive, that you're breathing the air, that you're feeling the beat of your heart, the pulse in your body, the blood is flowing, and you're alive, and it's a gift. We forget every morning that we wake up because sometimes there are things hanging over our head, there's work. Maybe you don't have to work today, today. I do. I did. I got up at 5:30 this morning and said, I got to work. No, I didn't. I got up at 5:30 this morning. And even though 5:30 this morning, I was thinking, okay, it's 5:30 in the morning. I'll just tell you a heads up in case you don't know. It was a beautiful night last night, so we left the windows open. If you're waiting for the birds to wake you up in the morning, they wake you up long before 5:30. Those bad boys and girls were singing outside my window wicked loud. I'm saying to myself, I'm supposed to get to sleep for another 15 minutes. What are you all doing out there? Singing? They don't really care. They don't really respond to me. It was a rhetorical question, just in case you were wondering. But the truth is, I love getting up on Sunday morning earlier than any other day of the week. I love being up at 5:30, sitting in my chair with the Bible and in time of prayer and just kind of being present to the moment and being thankful for a new day and that first cup of coffee as it brews, and I'm drinking it and thinking about it and just being present in the moment. And that's joy. That's joy, but we've forgotten that. I think life has kind of beat it out of us, kind of like that horse in Seabiscuit is beaten down by life and he's lost it. Over time, on the days when we do get up to go to work, we ought to be thankful that we've got a place to go, that we've got a new day, that there's the wind blowing. I began to have those touchstone moments, trying to look for them in my life of joyful kinds of things. One of the things I do is probably not good. It's probably not good. I'll admit it right up front. You're supposed to sit down and make eating a kind of special thing, and you're not supposed to eat while walking around and doing other kinds of things. But every day when I go home for lunch, I make myself a pumpernickel and cheese sandwich or a pumpernickel and peanut butter sandwich because that's my favorite. I love pumpernickel. I can't tell you why. There's something about it just calls out my name. So there's joy in pumpernickel. Maybe it's not for you, but for me, deep joy. So I get my pumpernickel out, I put on my Dijon mustard, and I put on, that does not go with the peanut butter, by the way. That's only with the cheese. And then I stand at the window in my kitchen and I look into my backyard. Now, right now, it's not a beautiful place to look because the grass has all suddenly decided it's going to spring up, and I know now somebody's got to cut it. Linda, just a heads up. It's time to cut that beautiful grass in the backyard. But earlier this spring, the daffodils popped up. And have you ever noticed when you're looking at daffodils and the wind is blowing that they kind of do this little kind of dance in the wind? It's kind of a little breeze comes by and they're just dancing. And I loved standing there with my sandwich, bite by bite, just watching the daffodils dance. Now you think that's kind of idiotic, James. No, and maybe it is. But I'm trying to defend it here for a moment to say, in those moments, I just loved watching those daffodils. We have two different color yellow daffodils in the back. There's kind of a duller yellow color, and then there's a bright yellow color, and both of them, some of them are next to each other, and they're just dancing in this beautiful fashion. And it just reminds me of what life is. It's in the cycles, it's in the dances, it's in the frog songs in the spring. Do you hear this frog song sometimes in the springtime? If you're anywhere near water, you will hear those little frogs out there singing their hearts out for love. Now, I know love was last week and this is joy, but they sing out that song of love, the song of renewal, the song of new life. The song of, hey, I'm looking for another frog, come on over and see me kind of frog song. That's what it's about. It's about life. And in that life is the reminder of joy. I love to hear those songs in the springtime. And it brings back the joy of being alive. I love seeing the little people at St. James and everywhere else that I see little people. But I love the Violets and the Bens and Nates and the Shelbys and the Libbies. And I could just go on because there are so many. Well, at one time the Leannes, but then Leanne grew up. It's almost 18. I don't know how these things happen, but the same thing with happens to all of us. And as I see those little faces still catching the joy in the first time experiences that we've all just kind of taken for granted, the first time you touch fur on a dog, you probably can't remember that moment, but the first time you did, or on cat, but dog, yeah, your first time you touch it and it's alive and I'm sorry, did I make a face? Did I do that out loud? I'm really sorry. If you're cat people and you love cats, really good. Find joy in those things. I found joy until the first time I got teeth and claws in my hand, and then it was all over for us. It was all over. You thought it was play. I thought it was time to go to the SPCA. So, okay, that was mean. All right, I take it back. Not really, but the truth is about the whole dance of life is joy is a byproduct of it all. If you keep waiting for something to happen way down the road that's going to bring you joy, and you keep anticipating something, it may or may not succeed. You may find joy, but you may not. It's catching the joy in the passing moments of your everyday life, like in the dance of the daffodils. It might be too late for you now because the daffodils are starting to look a little peaked to me. It could be in the dance of the beautiful lilies, except that now all the lily buds, there's like one that's hanging on for dear life over here that I could touch, and now I've gone off the picture. I know, so I'm coming back over. Catching those moments when the daffodils dance or when the azaleas start to bloom, unless you have allergies, maybe there's not joy, then just look through a window, in a air-controlled kind of environment. But the trees, I couldn't believe last week on Sunday there were no buds on my trees that I could notice in the front yard, and by Wednesday I'm looking out the window and buds are everywhere. Spring is busting out all over. And I don't know, for me that's a time of joy. but I also kind of like all the times of the year. So where are the moments of joy for you? Where do you find it? You don't have to borrow my moments of joy. You've got them. Maybe it's when in the middle of the night, Ben and Nate wake you up. You know, Brett, I see that smile. He's smiling. I think it's a joyful moment for him. You know, when the boys wake him up in the middle of the night. And when there are twins, the joy is that they don't always wake you up at the same time. Just as soon as one has gone back to sleep, another one wakes up. I don't know this from personal experience, only from Brett's report. So the challenge of being alive is finding the moments of joy that are a byproduct of being alive, because life is a gift. It's a gift to you from God. And God wants you to experience God's pleasure in the most bizarre things. I know people who really like to run, and they experience God's pleasure when they're running. I know people who really like to dance, who experience God's pleasure when they dance. I know people who like to build things with their hands. More power to them. I like to apparently hit myself with hammers and nearly cut parts and appendages off my body with saws. But for people who can do that kind of stuff and find deep joy in looking at the product, but not just the product, the process of making it, let that be your joy, and let those moments, cling to those moments. Don't let them pass by. Recognize God's in those moments. God wants you to remember those moments. So you say to yourself, James, what you're saying to me, well, what are you saying to me, James? You know, you might be asking that question. I'm saying in the same way that Seabiscuit had forgotten what it was like to be a horse, maybe we've forgotten what it's like to be human, to really be alive, breathing in and out, and being thankful for each breath that comes. Being thankful for the moments that we can move our hands, because some people with advanced rheumatoid arthritis can't do that anymore. Being thankful for even our unbalanced walking. In the middle of the night last night, I got up and poor Linda was sound asleep, and of course I went in the bathroom, and the first thing I do is I hit our unstable towel rack, which immediately dropped its chrome towel holder on the tile floor. Boom! Right there in the middle of her perfect night's sleep. I don't know, maybe the birds were waking her up, or maybe the frogs outside, I don't know, but I don't think so, because the birds weren't even up yet at that point, and the towel rack fell on the floor. It was not a happy moment. I mean, but they're just being able to get up and to have a new day. That's joy. If you're waiting for it to be something way down the road, you know, I know people who plan for joyful retirements. What if you don't get to retirement? What if you don't make it? Where was the joy? You missed out on it every single day of your life. You know, it's hard to say to parents that there's a joy in changing diapers, but someday you're going to miss it. Someday you're going to miss those little people in your life that you could pick up and hold. I have a 21 and 18-year-old, you know, Hannah and Josh. I can't pick them up anymore. And when they're sad, I can't, you know, and you know, their lives are sad sometimes, just like everybody's. I can't just pick them up and pat them on the back like this and offer them a popsicle. You know, it just doesn't fly like it did when they were 3. Go figure. Maybe if I offered them a car or a new electronic device, that would do it. But it was so much cheaper when it was a popsicle, you know, 30 cents in the refrigerator. Here. Yay, Dad, you're great. Not so much anymore. The truth is, each moment in our lives has opportunities and pleasures which we miss. Don't miss those, because joy comes as a side piece. And if you're in the midst of sadness and sorrow and brokenness right now, and you cannot see to the end of the tomb, the end of the tunnel where the light is coming from, know that what is amazing from the biblical story is how we move from sorrow to joy, sadness again to joy, moments when we feel like God is right there, woo! And moments when we feel like, where the heck did God go? And then we have to cling on to those moments when God was there. So how are we going to practice joy? You know, if I gave you a suggestion about how you were going to work on love last week, I've got some suggestions for about how to practice joy this week. One is just stop and take a breath. Just stop and take a breath for a moment. And let it be a deep breath, a deep cleansing breath. And in that moment, remember that you're alive. You know, you can always just take your pulse. I can't. I can never find. If it's up to me to find my pulse, I'd be dead, I think. But, you know, thank goodness, there it is in my neck. If I push really hard on the carotid, if you press hard enough on your carotid for a long time, though, you go to sleep. So don't do that. But just take a deep breath. Every time that you feel joy, if you're a journaler, if you write things down, write down that moment of joy so that when you're feeling your deepest sorrow, you can revisit it. You can look back and say, I remember that feeling of joy. It's gone now, but I remember that feeling of joy. When you're walking down the street during the day, let every smile that you see, now in Northern Virginia, that's few and far between, but it does occasionally happen. When you see another person smiling, let that be a reminder of the joy of being alive. And maybe if you have an empty cubicle-filled life, one of those kinds of places that you go to where there's really nothing, you know, you sit there and you do things, or maybe you take a picture with you that reminds you of your joy. Maybe it's a family picture of people that you care about, or maybe it's your favorite vacation spot. Maybe it's you and Mickey, I don't know, or Minnie, or Goofy. That would be my favorite spot because he and I, very similar, Goofy. But those moments are reminders. Find little things. One of my moments of joy every day is when I go to the refrigerator, because on the refrigerator, so many of you over the years have sent us picture cards at Christmas time. And it doesn't matter whether it's Christmas or not, those pictures hang on our refrigerator. So one day, I may see Tate and Carter and Gus. The next day, I may notice Libby, because I don't have a picture with Libby and Shelby yet on my refrigerator, but I will after this Christmas, I suspect. Those pictures bring me joy. What are the pictures that bring you joy? Put those out somewhere to remind you to find joy in your everyday living. Because if you're waiting for a magical moment when, you know, the pixie dust sprinkles from the ceiling, you might wait for a really long time. But if you recognize just being alive, now that's joyful. And find delight in the gift of living, that's joy. I know you were probably thinking I was going to preach something about magicalness that you would be able to carry with you wherever you go. I bet you'll see a smiling person sometime today, even if it's just you in the mirror. I bet you you'll see a picture somewhere either in your home or in your wallet that will remind you of the joy of having a connection and a relationship with someone else in the world. I bet you if you think hard enough, you can think of a time when you really felt pleasure in being alive. And maybe there's some other ones for you. Maybe today is a perfect day for you to take a walk in the sunshine, put the baby in the stroller, go out for a time, and just appreciate how beautiful it is when spring starts to pop out all over. I don't know, but joy is all around. Joy is a part of the ebb and flow of our everyday lives. And God so wants you to remember what it's like to be human. You might have forgotten, but God wants you to remember to be fully human and feel the joy of being alive.